In today's world, where challenges and distractions often pull us in different directions, starting our day with intention and prayer can be a transformative experience. In this video, we explore a morning prayer that is centered around seeking God's protection, grace, and mercy. We will not only break down the beautiful words in the prayer, but also reflect on how these can be applied in our everyday lives to help us face the world with strength, confidence, and faith. We often hear that the way you start your day can influence how the rest of it unfolds. Imagine beginning your day by placing it in the hands of someone greater than yourself. Someone who knows what lies ahead. This is the essence of the prayer shared in the transcript, entrusting God with your day and seeking His guidance and protection. In our fast-paced world, it can be easy to forget the importance of taking time for prayer, especially in the mornings. A common misconception is that prayer is reserved for moments of crisis or for when we feel helpless. However, when we start our day with a prayer like the one we see here, we invite God's presence into every part of our routine. This doesn't just provide comfort, but also the peace of mind that comes with knowing that we are never walking through life alone. Personal reflection. The first time I consciously decided to start my mornings with prayer, I was amazed by the peace I felt throughout the day. My mind was clearer, and I felt more grounded. I would encourage you to try this, even just for a few minutes, and see the difference it makes. Dear Lord, I place today in your hands. This is a powerful way to begin any prayer. By surrendering the day to God, you acknowledge that you are not in control of everything. It's a reminder that life is unpredictable, but God is faithful. The prayer continues with a request for God's grace, peace, and protection. In a world full of uncertainties, we all long for safety and security. But beyond physical protection, we also need emotional and spiritual protection. This part of the prayer asks God to guard our hearts and minds, keeping us away from negative influences and harmful thoughts. Example, I once met someone who experienced overwhelming anxiety. Despite having a strong faith, they struggled to maintain peace in their heart. After incorporating daily prayers for protection and asking God to guide their emotions, they began to notice significant changes. They felt more at ease with the uncertainties of life and less vulnerable to fear. The prayer emphasizes the desire to experience God's presence in a very tangible way. May your presence be so real and so tangible to me that I may not fear anything but walk in complete faith. This is a beautiful request because it reveals the deep need we all have to feel God's nearness. The idea of God being real and present in our daily lives is both comforting and empowering. When we feel His presence, we are more confident in facing the day's challenges. The prayer expresses a desire to be so attuned to God that we move through life with the assurance that He is with us at every step. Personal story. I have a friend who, during a difficult time in her life, began praying for God's tangible presence in her daily routine. She prayed that God would speak to her through quiet moments, in nature, and even in conversations with others. Over time, she began noticing how God spoke to her through her surroundings and relationships. She could sense His presence even in the most ordinary moments. This part of the prayer invites God's protection, not just for ourselves, but for our families, our work, and our travels. I speak the protection of the blood of Jesus to surround me and my family. The speaker asks for God's divine protection in multiple aspects of life. This is particularly important because, as we know, life is full of potential dangers, both seen and unseen. This part of the prayer is an expression of faith. It's a declaration that no matter where you go or what you face, you trust that God's protection will cover you. It's not just about physical safety, but also about spiritual and emotional well-being. When we ask God to protect our hearts and minds, we are inviting His peace to guide us. Example, a few years ago, a friend of mine was traveling overseas for work. Before she left, she prayed for protection over her journey and her family back home. During her travels, she faced some unexpected obstacles, from flight delays to minor accidents. But despite the difficulties, she always felt a sense of peace and safety. In retrospect, she attributed her sense of calm to the prayers she had said, asking for God's protection. Before embarking on the journey, note in the final lines of the prayer, there's a desire to walk in God's presence and to make choices that lead closer to Him. Teach me how to choose only your way. This is a prayer of commitment. It's a prayer that asks God to help us discern His will in every situation, to walk in His presence, and to stay aligned with His purposes. The idea of walking with God implies a deep relationship, one that is continuous and consistent. It's not just about following Him when it's easy, but allowing Him to guide every step, even when it's difficult. Reflection. I recall a time when I had to make a difficult career decision. I spent days praying and reflecting, asking God to guide me and help me choose the path that aligned with His will. It wasn't an immediate answer, but through prayer, reflection, and trust, I eventually found clarity. Looking back, I see how God's presence guided me through a confusing and uncertain season. To conclude, the morning prayer we explored today is more than just words. It is a declaration of faith, a desire for God's presence, and an invitation for divine guidance. Starting your day with a prayer like this can set the tone for everything that follows. It invites God into every moment and ensures that we are not walking alone. When we ask for His protection and grace, we are reminded that no matter what happens, we are safe in His care. Final lesson. The key takeaway here is that when we begin our day by surrendering it to God, we're opening ourselves to His protection, grace, and guidance. This doesn't mean life will be without challenges, but it does mean that we will never face those challenges alone.